Hello, welcome to the virtual open house for the College of St. Elizabeth's Combined Masters in Nutrition and Dietetic Internship Program. The mission of our program is to prepare you for entry-level practice, and we have two concentrations: entrepreneurial nutrition practice and community and public health nutrition, which I'll describe a little bit more. But our goal is for you to meet all of the competencies outlined by the Accreditation Council for Education in Nutrition and Dietetics, and to be ready to pass the exam and become an entry-level dietitian. Our program is rooted in the college's institutional mission, which has a long-standing focus on academic excellence and quality education, with a particular focus on service, leadership, and ethical practice. The goals of the program stem from the mission, and they are to prepare you for ethical, evidence-based entry-level practice, meeting all the core competencies, and also some specific competencies within the entrepreneurial nutrition practice and community and public health concentrations, and to develop a sense of service through exposure to community rotations, self-evaluation, and an initiation of the continuing education plan, as well as a completion of a capstone portfolio. The program has 36 total positions approved, 18 in our entrepreneurial nutrition practice concentration and 18 in our public health and community nutrition concentration. This is a picture of the class from 2019 at the annual meeting for the New Jersey Dietetic Association meeting. Not quite everyone was there, but this is almost all of us with some of the faculty. The entrepreneurial nutrition practice concentration starts in August. We participate for that concentration in the April match with D&D match code 418. Again, 18 positions. The community and public health nutrition concentration starts in January. You may apply either in April for the D&D with a D&D match code of 134, where we would like to fill 12 positions, and we have 9 positions reserved for November match with code 616. All of this is outlined in the document available on our website, Program Overview. For the April match, the entrepreneurial nutrition concentration students can apply to one or both concentrations, and you will be assigned based on match. You only need to complete one application checklist and fee, even if applying to both concentrations. And the application checklist is basically an availability list for when you may interview. It is available on the website directly, and that is where you also pay the application fee to the program. The curriculum for the program provides a nutrition and health focus with particular emphasis on current issues in nutrition practice, health promotion and healthy aging, weight management and current research in that topic, counseling and communications, and we are focused on the program building integrated coursework and supervised practice. The program is built on a foundational understanding of metabolism, research, and ethical practice, and you'll see in the list of courses where this is emphasized. The Masters in Nutrition program component, which is the first part of the program, is 20 credits of online nutrition coursework. The program being online allows you the flexibility to complete the work from home while being employed and while not relocating until the supervised practice year if you are not originally from New Jersey or from an area of New Jersey where you feel you can commute. The program is rigorous, and students should anticipate 30 to 40 hours of coursework in order to be successful and maintain a B average or better in the program, which is a requirement of the master's coursework and to continue in the program. Because the program does also admit freestanding master's students who are already RDs. You can gain perspective from people already in practice if they are in your courses, but also some students are coming from different locations, and so you can gain a wider perspective than your local geographic area if students are from those different geographic locations. We are also looking at describing here the courses. So the first year, those 20 credits, you take everyone takes a health promotion and aging course, an interventions and strategies and weight management, an advanced nutrition and metabolism, a research course for health professionals, and a program design and management course in nutrition. And that is a focus on community nutrition programming. And students also, in addition to completing the coursework element, complete supervised practice hours in an integrated way in that course. All students also take a 2-credit course offered in the summer, and I'll describe how that works for each concentration, but it is a course focused on child and adolescent nutrition that combines both didactic and case studies. Depending on the concentration that you are interested in or matched to, if you are in the entrepreneurial nutrition concentration, you will have a choice of either 624, which is integrative nutrition and health therapies, or a focus on sports nutrition and health performance. So once you are matched to us in that concentration, we ask you which of those 2 courses you would like to take as an elective. Some students also ask if they can take both. You can take both, but it will be an additional 3-credit expense, and it will be difficult to take 12 credits a semester instead of 9 in the master's, especially if you're planning on working, because 9 credits is full-time in a master's program, and as we mentioned, the expectation for workload is 30 to 40 hours to successfully complete the courses. If you are in the Community and Public Health Nutrition course, you will take a Public Health Nutrition focused course as your elective. All of the master's coursework emphasizes current research, outside resources, web-based tools, social media in the professional realm, evidence-based applications, and professional skills to set you up for supervised practice and to take you into your profession once you finish supervised practice. The online courses are both, as I mentioned, practical and preparatory for ethical evidence-based practice, interactive using discussion forums, web conferencing, and for the most part, flexibility in logging in. So most of the courses are asynchronous most of the time, but there are some web conferences set aside for specific courses, and students are given the information as to when those are meeting at the beginning of the semester, so they can make plans to work around that if they are working outside of taking courses. Most students do find that they are able to work 10 to 20 hours a week in addition to the courses and still be successful. In addition, the online courses we do provide resources at the college, including IT help desk, accessibility services, academic success center. Especially students use this for help with writing at the graduate level, and an intensive advising program and counseling services are all available to our students, even when they are focused on the online section. There is an orientation to online learning. We use currently the coursework management program called MOODLE, which many of you might be familiar with. It's very similar to other college programs such as Blackboard or Canvas, but it is our system, MOODLE. So we do provide you with a week of orientation where Dr. Boysen, the department chair, will in fact walk you through a shell of a course and all of the different things that you would be doing. So for the master's coursework, another important thing to note is that our courses are taught with a focus on Quality Matters standards, which is a peer-based review of online courses to assure that they meet the highest level standards for student faculty engagement and student learning. So these courses are actively reviewed, and you will do things like reviewing materials online, readings, taking quizzes, completing papers, doing presentations, having discussion forums, and also some web-based conferencing, as I mentioned. The specific courses in the dietetic internship are called simulated practice in clinical, and that's the focus on all of the inpatient clinical and simulated preparation for that. Advanced experiential learning in clinical, which is 2 weeks of outpatient and extended care clinical. Professional communications in nutrition and dietetics focuses on a variety of social media, professional media, evidence analysis, investigation project, and professional meeting attendance, professional advocacy, and public policy. Experiential learning in dietetic management is focused on management mostly in a food service, in a school, or mostly in a hospital and sometimes in a school. And then experiential learning in the community, which is a community service project in addition to some simulated community activities. Everyone in the internship also completes a capstone course, which is basically a combination of your portfolio development, which is really looking at all of your work and then doing some self-reflection on that work and doing some self-reflection on how you're doing in the program and writing some goals to achieve. You also have a fee associated with that course, which covers attendance at our professional meetings as well as a review course, which we are instituting with the class of 2021. And that review course will hopefully be in person, but it will be a comprehensive review course for the RDN exam. So that will be a part of the program. Students in the concentration have a course that focuses on the concentration experiential learning in entrepreneurial or in public health and community nutrition program. I like to share pictures of students because I think a lot of times that helps bring the program to you. So this picture here with the 2 students with the lab coats is at one of the clinical sites. The picture on the top center is dietetic interns at a professional meeting. Just below that is a class luncheon celebration for the first core class finishing the community program in August of 2019. That is a newer concentration for us. To the left of that is an example of students doing food recovery in campus kitchen, and below that, a campus kitchen activity in the department. In the center lower picture is our first, not our first, but one of our masters, combined masters. It's our second class of combined master's students at graduation. And then we have to the right of that, students in a culinary contest with one of the preceptors at one of the facilities, and above that, some students together at one of the practice sites. Actually, our clinical faculty in the back is on a computer, and then the students are with her at Morristown Medical Center. So before our program starts, that summer before or the fall semester before, depending on when you start supervised practice, we do provide pre-program preparation homework that includes reviewing a lot of medical nutrition therapy, which is not a focus of some of the coursework, doing some case study preparation and pharmacology review, medical terminology review. So things that are getting you ready for going into the hospital. And then we have an administrative orientation, which is about 2 hours in June or September, depending on your concentration, and that is virtual, but it is mandatory. And we do review the medical clearance information that you need, the background check information that you need, and that pre-preparation work that you need to complete. And then we have an orientation focus when we first start the program, and in clinical there is a week of clinical simulation and orientation as well. We do use a clinical faculty training model, which is basically meaning that we employ a clinical faculty who is paid by the college, an employee of the college, but has rights to work at Morristown Medical Center and Overlook Medical Center for the majority of the clinical training. So you have a week of clinical simulation and then 7 weeks in the hospital full-time, and there's 4 or 5 students working together with a clinical faculty. The nice thing about this is the clinical faculty's role and job is totally focused on your education. In the traditional format where a student is working with a volunteer preceptor, that preceptor generally still has his or her workload. In this model, the clinical faculty's focus is on training you, and the workload is depending on what the student needs are at the time. So the faculty does not have the pressure of also taking care of her own patients. We do have a very organized, well-structured, and comprehensive curriculum that outlines the goals, the objectives, and then specific activities. And I would highly suggest that if you're looking into a program, especially a program that is an online program, that you find out what their structure of their curriculum is like. Because in our program, when you go to your site, you have a list of activities you need to achieve. And it's not left to chance what you want to accomplish in order to meet all the competencies. We have found that students indicate the master's level coursework truly prepares them for and the other didactic components of the program really prepare them for supervised practice, and that students are very happy with our practice sites, both the clinical faculty and the 2 medical centers where we work at Morristown Medical and Overlook Medical, which are a part of Atlantic Health, a very well recognized healthcare system in the state and nationally. And outside of that, where students are placed for management and community rotations and other rotations, we have built a very strong relationship with our preceptors and our sites, and students have reported a lot of appreciation for those practice sites and preceptors. The faculty associated with the program have a diverse background, so that helps you to get guidance, and you pretty much have a faculty touch point in every single rotation that you are in, which is also a little bit unusual. I mentioned that our curriculum is designed in a way that the focus is very comprehensive, and any assignments are graded by faculty, not by the preceptors at the volunteer preceptors. Some of the assignments, obviously in clinical, where you're working with a college faculty preceptor, they would do grading. But where you're working with volunteer preceptors, you're getting feedback from faculty. This is another picture of the group. This is our very first graduating class of MSDI in 2016, 4 years ago already. A food demo activity in the foods lab on the right. Bottom right, a group of students at a professional meeting. Bottom left, students doing a plant-based theme day in management. Above that, a activity in corporate wellness, and a poster session to the top right as well, or an activity, I think it was a community poster session type activity. So our practice hours are designed at 12:16. There's a little bit of wiggle room in that for based on some changes ACEND has made for COVID, but right now for students applying in 2021, the program would be planned for 1,216 hours. About a third of that is in clinical, about 240 in management, 140 in community, about 196 in professional development, and then the concentration is approximately 200 hours. As I mentioned, the clinical is done at these 2 major medical centers with small cohorts of students. In addition, you do a 40-hour entry-level clinical focused week of simulation and hands-on activities, a combination. And you also do a week of outpatient and extended care. The outpatient is typically in diabetes, or it could be in renal. And the extended care is typically in long-term care, but it could be rehab, psych, child developmental, and LTAC, or long-term ventilated patients, if you're very interested in clinical. What we do is ask students for their preference, with a caveat that if you definitely want a specific focused experience, you may have to drive a little further. And we also always give people the option of they can be placed at a place that's just closer to them if they don't want to continue, driving as much. That's up to you. In management, it's typically a 6-week rotation in a hospital. We also focus on food recovery, and we run a food pantry on campus that's run as a part of the management rotation. My emphasis in management for the program is really to help you be able to take all of the management concepts and relational information in food service, but be able to apply them in other management situations, like in clinical management, in community management, and in your own type of business. So giving you the fundamentals to be able to do that. The community service or community rotation includes the 80 hours that you do as a part of your 677 nutrition programming course. It also includes some simulation and field trip activities and a community service project that is a group project. This is some more pictures. Students at Morristown Medical Center with Nadine Grant, the clinical faculty in the center, the class of 2020 who have been affected by COVID. Our group this summer is going to return in the fall. Unfortunately, we could not get them into rotations this summer. We were able to do some virtual work this spring, but this is being recorded during the pandemic, and so you can imagine we've had some changes. Bottom right-hand corner is in the center, Winnie Hudis, our clinical faculty at Overlook, and her team this year, the class of 2020 who graduated in May, in the center as well. 2 of those in the bottom center at a health fair. In the top center are 2 students who did some volunteer work this summer at a food recovery program and food pantry. And then on the top right, we have a student at one of her corporate sites doing a tabling event. Professional development, the students attend professional meetings, do some professional media work, culinary skills. We're exposing you to professional communications in nutrition and motivational interviewing, and using that in nutrition counseling settings, as well as evidence analysis through a project and a 2-week choice for the student of an entry-level practice rotation. Some examples of the typical practice sites for entrepreneurial nutrition practice are supermarket for 2 weeks and a corporate or campus wellness combination for 120 hours. And then in community and public health, our first summer, we worked with Zufel at Snap Ed, with Maggio's Summer Feeding, and Farm to Fork. This summer, as I mentioned, we had to make some adjustments for COVID, and we did some work on Farm to Fork and public health nutrition activities as well. So that is the focus, is really on government-based programming as well as agriculture, and the connection between agriculture and nutrition. More pictures. This was last summer at Grow It Green, students harvesting and working with that program on food recovery, students at professional meeting, graduation, doing a community service project, and at a supermarket event. What do you need to apply to us? Well, obviously your DPD verification or intent to complete, and your bachelor's degree needs to be completed before you start. But you do not need the GREs, which a lot of students are excited about. And the application that you do is specifically through DICAS. You do not apply to the master's program separately. Once you're matched to us, then we have you go through some online paperwork to get you into the college system, but you specifically apply through DICAS, the national system, and D&D. We do require at least a 3.0 out of a 4.0 academic GPA. We do look at your work experience, and we use a 100-point scale overall with 40 points, up to 40 points for the GPA, and basically a breakdown of 15 points each for work, personal interview, and overall impression of the candidate, narrative, and recommendations. For volunteer work, we kind of look at that based into your work as well as your overall impression. The clinical work experience does have more weight. We have an outlined objective scale to look at how much experience someone has had, but we absolutely give credit for any type of work experience. Does not need to be clinical. Food service is great as well, but even any work experience, something that shows that you had a level of responsibility that was seen by your managers as important, that you showed up. And when it comes to volunteer work, we like to see students who have grown in a volunteer position versus just done 50 different 1-hour volunteer activities. Someone who's been active in a particular program or activity or event, even if it's not nutrition related, but it's a cause that's important to them, shows us your leadership potential. Definitely start your application process early. Investigate as much as you can about the programs you want to apply to. Write to the director, ask if they can give you a reference to a program grad, or find out if someone from your undergraduate institution went to that program. Consider who's going to write your letters, give them a lot of lead time. Develop a strong narrative, check your grammar, and make sure that you also have someone read it. I always like to say, have your meanest friend read it, someone who's going to be super honest with how it sounds. And make sure you follow the program instructions and know the match codes. From a financial aid perspective, the Academy Foundation does provide grants and scholarships to students. You are also eligible in our program for government loans, and the college does have payment plans. And you are basically registering for 9 credits, 4 different semesters, and 2 credits one summer, and that's how you're billed. So basically that cost of the program is divided over the 4 main semesters and the summer. It's about $40,000 total overall, and we're very happy that 95% of our students say it's been an excellent value. What do our students do? Well, they go out and work in any area of practice at an entry level. We have students in school food service and in corporate wellness, in supermarkets, in pharmaceutical industry, as well as the traditional clinical avenues. And we have those who have developed and become specialists in critical care, peds, long-term care and subacute, renal, and in clinical management. So we are finding students working in all areas. We have alums who work for the community food bank, for Interfaith Food Pantry, for community outreach programs. So basically whatever area you want to work in, we are preparing you for that. Do students need to relocate for a particular experience? For the actual clinical, it is done either in Summit or in Morristown, and we try to place you based on where you live to whichever site is closest to you. And we do look at the whole class, so we do have to look at, where everyone is coming from. So for that experience, depending on how much you want to drive and where you live, you might. Most of the other rotations, we try to place you closer to home. So let's say you live in Hillsborough. You might be able to be placed at St. Peter's or Robert Wood, Somerset for management, but you would go to Morristown for clinical. There is 1 day a week in much of the program. There are a few days a week that you come to campus at the beginning for orientation, during clinical simulation, 1 day a week in management for the community service project. And then there's also things we have you do at home. So if you can kind of get your head around that for the semester that you are in supervised practice, you're going to need to do a lot of driving. You can live really within, 2 hours of the program if you're willing to drive that far certain days. If you feel that you really would prefer to be closer, then you need to take that into consideration. And we found that a lot of students do short-term rentals through Airbnb, short-term rentals, people in Morristown who are renting out rooms in their house, and they've been able to work it out. It does take, as I mentioned, for the master's, it's at least 30-40 hours a week of coursework. And for the internship, it's even more than that because you're out your site for 40 hours plus a half an hour break. So really almost 43 hours or 44 hours or 45 hours in a week, I would say, normal. Then you have to commute, and some of the practice sites have off-site parking. So you have to factor that in. So you want to figure at least an hour just because of New Jersey. Commuting, it could be 30 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, but you want to figure in your mind that you're spending at least 12 hours a day between commuting, being at supervised practice, and doing work. And you might even have 15 hours a day if you're also looking at additional work in clinical, especially. But all the rotations do have additional outside work that you need to complete. If you have less than a 3.0 GPA, I would highly recommend contacting the director of the program and discussing that, because less than a 3.0 GPA we have found is very challenging for the student to pass the RD exam and to be successful in our master's, which you must have a 3.0 in the master's in order to move into supervised practice. If you do not, at the end of the master's, have a 3.0 GPA and you cannot have more than 2 C's in the master's, you would be recommended to complete the master's only. But again, you have to have a 3.0 to even finish the master's. So it's really essential that you are already showing a B average as a GPA. Now, that being said, if you are a second degree candidate and you completed your undergraduate 4 or 5 years ago, we can look at that and we can talk about that. Working outside the internship, most students find they can do 10 to 20 hours during the maybe even a little bit more during the master's coursework, but then during supervised practice, most people find they can work 1 day per diem on a weekend, or in maybe waiting tables or working in a diet office or a personal trainer. But during the week, it would be almost impossible. As I mentioned, the program cost, it's about $40,000 for the 2-year combined master's internship program, which is comparable to other private schools. Practice sites are arranged by faculty, except for that one piece where you do some practice hours as a part of your community program. That's an area where you get to pick, and also you get to give some input into your final experience and to those rotations I mentioned. But we do make the arrangements and do all the legwork and behind the scenes and all of the contract work. Interns are evaluated through regular daily input, as well as weekly evaluations, as well as self-evaluations. And our students are doing well on the RD exam. We did see a little dip, but we are adding the review course, and that was actually a national dip in the pass rate when the exam changed. So we are looking at doing the review course to help students, and we do find that most students are able to find employment in the field when they're done with the program. Anyone with a 3.0 will get an interview. We do a single person interview. We would prefer you to come to campus in person, but we will also do virtual through Zoom interviews. I mentioned about the work experience. Undergraduate practicum experiences are listed in the application, but honestly, they're very typical, so we don't put a heavy emphasis on those because pretty much everyone is doing them. And I mentioned the volunteer type experience that we're looking at. So I hope that you're interested in our program. Feel free to get more information at our website at www.csc.edu/DI. And we look forward to hearing from you.